You're watching episode 3 of the Modi Diaries. The theme for today's special telecast is Prime Minister Modi's renewable energy push. Over the last 10 years, there have been a concerted effort by the Modi government to reduce India's carbon footprint, whether it is chalking out the electric mobility mission, building solar and wind farms, investing in lithium exploration as well as ethanol, or manufacturing green hydrogen too. But this is not all. Even at the global level, Prime Minister Modi has been pivotal in launching the International Solar Alliance, the Global Biofuels Alliance, the Green Credit Scheme and the Lifestyle for Environment mission. He's left no stone unturned towards ensuring the adoption of renewable energy. Before we dip into a discussion, let's take a look at how much of India's green energy endeavors have been realized till now. So let's quickly show you these statistics, of course, through this special report. And we are, of course, going to be showing you how much progress has actually been made recently. So there you can see these are the green energy endeavors. The per capita carbon footprint of 2 tons, the statistic is 60% of the global average. And all of this, of course, is something that has been changing through renewable energy. Target of 500 gigawatts. Our capacity should have been this by 2030. What's the status right now? Well, we've reached 183.41 gigawatts. That's the current capacity right now. Ethanol blending. Our target is 20% blending in petrol by 2025. The status right now is 12% ethanol blending has been achieved. If we talk about green hydrogen, well, our target is 5 million metric tons production per annum. The status, of course, right now is 450,000 tons of annual production is being done by us. Electric vehicles. The target is 6.7 million electric vehicles is what we should have. The status right now is more than 2.5 million EVs on India's roads. If we talk about solar energy capacity, in 2014, it was 2.63 gigawatts. In 2024, it's 75.5 gigawatts. Wind energy capacity in 2014 was 21.1 gigawatts. In 2024, more than doubling to 44.2 gigawatts. Ethanol blending in 2014 was 1.5%. 2024, 12%, as you can clearly see. So clearly this push reaping rewards. Green hydrogen, 2014, 0. In 2024, 450,000 tons now of green hydrogen. So clearly, of course, a lot of work still to be done, but a lot of work already that has been done in the last 10 years. Let's quickly bring in our guest perspective on this big story. Dr. Sharat Kohli, senior economist, is joining us live. Mithali Nikore, economist, also is live with us. Kunj Shah, CMD Zodiac Energy Limited, joins us live. Abhijit Sinha, Director, Ease of Doing Business, is also with us live. Let me get you in here first, Sharat Kohli, on how much has been achieved and how much still remains for our green energy push under the NDA government.
Good evening, Uday. Good evening to NewsX viewers and good evening to my fellow panelists. Well, I personally feel, Uday, that we have achieved far more than what we should have achieved by now. And, you know, the so-called developed nations, I'm afraid I always now, for the last few months, I've been adding this adjective, the so-called developed nations, because if you ask me honestly as an economist, and I think to a certain extent Mithali may or may not agree with me, I don't call them developed anymore, because when I see the state of affairs in their countries, when I see unemployment, garibi, you know, bhikaris and all that, I really don't treat them as developed nations anymore. You know, we are far better. We may be having sharp contrasts within our country, but we are far you know ahead of them in many regards. So therefore, I mean, here comes the dichotomy. Whereas on one side, they keep pointing fingers to India about usage of coal and, you know, achieving this, zero carbon sooner, whatever, you know, the so-called COP26, COP27, COP28, although I feel these conferences are, I'm sorry to say that, and you'll have to pardon me for saying these conferences are useless. We have to participate in that because there is a gathering of people, environment ministers and the heads of states around the world, and you have to sit and discuss and make a commitment to the world. Well, the dichotomy is that the people who want commitment from others, this is where I went on to say so-called developed nations, they themselves are lagging behind in so many regards. You know, I can have a whole list of things where they are lagging behind, but they want emerging economies and fast developing economies like India to come up with a firm commitment, stop using coal and come up they want us to achieve zero carbon yesterday, whereas they haven't reached there even today. So I think India has been galloping, coming down to India has been galloping to do that. And not because we made a commitment to COP28 or commitment to rest of the world. I don't really care. Simply because we are conscious of the environment, and our government, our prime minister is very much conscious of the fact that environment is a very big danger to the world. There's no doubt about it. And his recent announcement about this Suryodaya Yojana, putting solar plants on the rooftops for more than 1 crore families, I think that speaks volumes. Production-linked incentives being given to high tech solar panels, green credit, carbon credit. India proposing in COP28 about the carbon credit, about green credit transferability, and so on. So many things. Ethanol mixing. You spoke of ethanol mixing, and the best part of ethanol mixing is that people who use petrol, they don't even come to know that 12% of their petrol as of now is not petrol. It's ethanol. And once we reach 20%, we not just save on environment, we save on the foreign exchange costs also. So I think the Prime Minister is very much conscious. When it comes to electric vehicles, you will see a revolution in electric vehicles, Uday, in the times to come. We may have achieved 6.7 million, electric vehicles. But in the next 2 to 3 years, you will see these numbers really galloping. There's going to be a multiplier effect. If you remember the smartphone era, when the smartphones came, a lot of people brushed aside, this is only for the rich. Only very few people will use it. But then there was a trigger. That trigger came, and suddenly, everything else changed. A similar thing, mark my words, a similar thing is going to happen on electric vehicles, when we'll suddenly find all cities, they will be free of at least the petrol and diesel, the emissions which come out from the vehicles. At least that will be gone. Of course, the factories, the burning of other stuff, stubble burning and all that will remain. But then we are going to very soon, and I personally feel, before I hand it over to other panelists to speak, 2070 may be the target set, or which India has proposed. I personally feel, if I'm looking at the progress so far, to answer your question, Uday, very, very, in a straightforward manner, I think this is going to happen 20 years sooner. But my last remark is that we need $10 trillion to become zero carbon. Is the world cooperating with us? Are those so-called developed nations, are they going to help us? Are they going to help other emerging economies? And I think they should end lecturing to us about zero carbon. They should do something themselves and then start lecturing others, is what I have to say, Uday. Over to you.
All right, let me take that across to Mitali Nikore as well. Mitali, we are, of course, clearly seeing how it seems Prime Minister Modi's efforts have reaped dividends. How big a game changer has his push for renewable energy been for India and also for the rest of the world?
Thanks a lot, Uday, and thank you, Sharadji, and very big hello to the other panelists as well as to everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for getting my views in. So I think, Uday, I want to narrate a personal incident. I went to Gujarat about 8 years ago and saw at what was at that time, of course it isn't today, it's close to Ahmedabad, India's at that time largest solar park, which was installed at the time when Mr. Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And that was the first time that such a large solar park was set up. The technology was very nascent, and there were a lot of approvals. There were a lot of, efforts required which didn't have any regulations. So the government of Gujarat actually drafted a lot of the first set of regulations around solar energy. How would it be priced? How will solar energy be sent to the transmission lines? How will it then go towards households? And, how will the generation take place? How will the distribution take place? This entire chain of generation, transmission, distribution was sorted out for the first time, 8 to 10 years ago. And, even today, that solar park has become, such a big attraction point for Gujaratis who always go there and they always talk about it. From there, to today, which that whole generational shift that we are seeing, people identifying and wanting to have more and more renewable energy in their industries, in their factories, in their homes now with the solar rooftop policy. It's been a huge evolution, and I would say that there are two parts of this evolution in India. One part is, of course, the technology, and I think on the technology, definitely we need to do more, because we are still importing a lot of those technological know-how. In fact, we are not innovating sufficiently. Here is where we can do more. But the part where I think we have done a fantastic job is the regulation, because a lot of those regulations didn't exist, and we have created them to meet the local context, particularly when it comes to solar energy. So I think now what we really need to do going forward is to see how can we indigenously manufacture a solar cell, a solar panel, without having to import a lot of these components. And I think that's going to be the future push. So till now we have come a very long way in terms of introducing the reforms in this sector across. And I also want to say, when I went to Europe, I actually saw a lot of houses, even in countries like Switzerland, in France, etc. In rural areas, they do have rooftop solar, they have independent power production. We are now, with the announcement of the rooftop solar policy, going in that direction, and that's a very correct direction. But all of these countries continue to remain dependent on one or two manufacturing countries like China for the import of even the rooftop solar, panels. And that's where I think India can really be a game changer for the whole world, if we are able to, innovate and have the technology for rooftop solar panels, for large solar panels, for parallel placement of solar, panels to generate the electricity. So that's kind of where we are.
Yes, Kunsha, why don't you come in here on, on how you've seen the transformation, how you've experienced it personally, being a company, operating in this very sector, and how much the government has really aided ease of doing business for companies like you.
Yeah, good evening, Uday, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Mr. Modi's tryst with solar energy or renewable energy started when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat in 2009-10, when he announced 1,000 megawatt solar power procurement program, when India was struggling with some few hundred or not even 100 megawatt kind of capacity. So that was a very bold step in the direction of embracing the renewable energy. And from that day onward, Gujarat has always set a pioneering footprint in solar and other renewable energy sector. I'll tell you, after the resounding success of 1,000 megawatt solar power in 2010, the Charanka solar park having 500 megawatt capacity, which Mitali just mentioned, was part of that, and other part of the state had around 500 megawatt. So 1,000 megawatt in total in 2010-11 was the starting for Gujarat. Thereafter, Gujarat has started many new initiatives like residential rooftop program in 2015, where no discom, even Gujarat discoms and other state discoms were very, very adamant not to embrace residential rooftop because it was cannibalizing their revenue. It was a very Herculean task for government to turn the tide and make the discoms agreeable to embracing rooftop solar. Till recently, Gujarat was having 80%, more than 80% share of total residential rooftop solar installation in country. Gujarat also, under the able leadership of Mr. Modi and subsequent government under his direction, started many new programs like wind solar hybrid, the Sky Surya Shakti Kisan Yojana for solar energy for farmers, where farmers can be exporter of the solar and earn something out of solar energy, which then rolled out nationwide as a Kusum scheme. Wind solar hybrid was introduced in Gujarat first and then rolled out in the country, across the country. Now, unlike many state government who are giving free electricity 200 unit 300 unit by pressurizing the state exchequer and taxpayers money, Mr. Modi empowered the weaker section of society by announcing this PM Surya Ghar Yojana, under which 1 crore household will be solarized for getting around up to 300 units of electricity free. In this scheme, 60% is subsidy component and balance 40%. All the nationalized banks are offering 10-year loan at 7% interest. So your electricity bill gets less than half, and after 7-8 years, when the loan is paid up, you can get free energy for next 15 to 18 years. So these are the initiative taken by Mr. Modi, be it in this, I am talking only of solar energy, same way wind energy, bioethanol, electric vehicle, as Dr. Sharad Kohli said, we are doing fantastic thing, and the ecosystem is in evolution. It is like first we have a charging network or we have a vehicle network, but once it will reach a certain flux point, as Mr. Kohli said, it will really going to catapult us in the electrical vehicle section also. So yes, Mr. Modi is again, he has started many national and international initiatives like International Solar Alliance, One World, One Sun, One Grid, kind of initiative taken by Mr. Modi is commendable, not only in India, but also across the globe. So there is no doubt under Mr. Modi, India is leaps and bounds, going leaps and bounds for embracing renewable energy. Thank you.
Okay, let me quickly take that across to Abhijit Sinha as well. Abhijit Sinha, how much transformation has there been in this sector, and what are the specific reasons that there has been this big result from the green energy push, the renewable energy push by government? Many governments have focus areas where they push for, but the kind of results we've seen on ground already, as stated earlier through the statistics that I read out, what has caused this?
Thank you, Uday. And I believe we are doing a discussion which is taking us on a place which is between two of them, where we are heading to and where we have reached. If you look at the target or the goals, they are very, very high. So the ambition or the push has to be equally high, equally powerful. Prime Minister, a person who is sitting or he is choosing to inaugurate a solar project immediately after Ram Mandir. You can understand the connectivity and you can understand the priority. Second, if you listen to him from morning to evening, if 4 or 5 programs he's spoken, he will definitely bring the mission live. So these two, not only solar or what all wonderful programs and initiatives that you listed in the beginning of the debate, these all are contributing to one target. And this one target is the target of decarbonization. Now, let me take the numbers from Dr. Kohli, that India, as a country of $5 trillion economy, if it has to decarbonize, it is requiring somewhere around $10 trillion by 2070. So if I am looking at the green economy of decarbonization by 2047 or 2070, then it is reaching to $10 trillion. And if I am the way we are working, the way it is step by step being achieved, from 2026 to 2030, this 5-year, the investment in billion US dollar has to be somewhere around 253 to 263 billion dollar, only for green economy. And 2035 to 2030 to 35, this investment per year has to increase 325 to 355. So why I told you these two numbers is because next 2 years are very, very important for this industry. If we miss the bus of 2070 decarbonization by not attracting investment, and the fact and figure are also there with me, that currently we have an opportunity of around 170 billion US dollar, and out of which we attract only 42 billion US dollar. So if we are not increasing the opportunity into solar, into wind, into other hydrogen and other electric mobility, we will not be able to create investment opportunities for people who are willing to look into it. If you look at the recent wave, that how market responded to this vision of Prime Minister of 2070 decarbonization and creating a $10 trillion green economy, at India Energy Week, when he spoke about it, next day, entire Sensex rallied with his thought. Because it's not only one way that government want to do it. It's also industry want to do it. Decarbonization for us is an important target. And for this, every stone is being turned. Whether it's a policy for green open access, whether it's a hydrogen pilot project or hydrogen allocation, whether it's a possibility to achieve 100% two-wheeler, three-wheeler into electric mobility, whether it is creating electric highways, or whether it is going for a mass level production of solar energy and wind power. So for us, it is very important to see that what has went wrong. If we will not look into that component, we may do the same mistake. Two major revolutions which India has seen is a mobile phone revolution, which is, of course, the Reliance India Mobile, who has given 500 rupees phone to everybody, and then it took a 800 million mobile phone today. And the second revolution is the Aadhaar and the UPI. Both of these revolutions has one thing in common, that the earlier government did not realize, did not had enough confidence on these two. I can quote that the last Prime Minister has clearly said that Aadhaar is almost impossible to link with the bank account. Later it happened, but once upon a time it was a big setback for that complete revolution. And if you will connect UPI today, every minister, every person in India is proud about the numbers of UPI, the volume of UPI. But you know the story behind it is when we were trying to bring it, when it was being discussed for the first time, banks were very reluctant. They were not understanding the idea that no check will come to us and one person will be able to send 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees to another person just by pressing some buttons on the mobile. So for us, a $10 trillion green economy may sound impossible today. It may sound very ambitious, but the kind of effort, the kind of detailing, the kind of tracking of each and every opportunity across all sector of economy, right from aviation to textile to leather to chemical to fertilizer, hospitality, steel, gas, each sector has a couple of things common: power and mobility. And each sector is being under very intensive audit by Government of India and by the parent ministry to decarbonize, to search out for an option of alternative which is greener, which is cleaner. You go with hydrogen, you go with electric, you go with solar. Does not matter, but you reduce your carbon footprint. And this is not only important for the decarbonization, but it is also important to reduce our logistic cost. So electric mobility and hydrogen has double responsibility. Our today's logistic cost of our GDP is 17%. And it is clear view, clear ambition of our Minister of Road Transport and Highway and our Honorable Prime Minister that we have to reduce this 14% logistic cost to single digit, to 8 to 9%. And this is what is making hydrogen, electric mobility, highways, all those who are connected with transport or decarbonization of transport to come under double scrutiny and double intensive budgets. So I would say that the policy, people who are now manufacturing, technologies which are coming, and the way the liberalization of policy has happened, we are in a at-par situation to look into global economies, to look into new economies, whether it's Tesla or BMW or any new economy. They all are coming to us. They all are looking at India that you are the one who will lead us, who will lead the path of decarbonization. And not only this, I think PM has very clearly set the context very well globally that India has that inherent value of telling people how to live with the nature, how to live with the environment. And this is why the Lifestyle for Environment campaign was launched by him. And I think we are not only creating this, but we are also creating a circular economy accountant. So I may say that with very reasonable confidence that the definition of circular economy, which world has, is now being changed by India, not by only having the waste cycle management, but by investing into technologies today, which is giving you a sustainable tomorrow, a sustainable alternative tomorrow. This new economy of circular economy, where we are investing into highways, where we are investing into metros, we are investing into hydrogen, we are investing into wind power, solar power, is going to bring us a energy independence, a security independence, and also an economic liberation.
But what all still remains to be done, Sharad Kohli? What now needs to be the priority for the years ahead as well, for the Prime Minister who will take oath after conclusion of the general elections 2024?
Well, I think to be very straight in answering your question, Uday, I think what needs to be done right now is we've seen the results, the imports from China. I will not talk of numbers. I'll talk of gigawatts. So in 2022, we were 9.8 gigawatts of import from China, which in 23 for a similar period came down to 2.3 gigawatts. So I think Atmanirbharta or self-dependence is the magic word, because I will pick up the lead from what Mitali was saying, that we are still importing a lot of equipment from solar panels, especially from China. So I think being self-dependent on imports is the first step we need to take, because everything else, Uday, is not missing. The will of the government is there. The action of the government is there. The plan of the government is there. The initiatives are there. We saw, our own road transport minister, Honorable Mr. Nitin Gadkari, has got a hydrogen car standing at his house. We don't drive hydrogen cars, but he has specially ordered a hydrogen car to try and see how it runs, how it sustains itself, where do you get the fuel, how much it runs, and so on and so forth. So the will of the government through Gati Shakti and there's so many initiatives where Prime Minister, he sleeps for only 2-3 hours a night, and he makes sure that he's working for those 20 hours to make sure that all the government initiatives, and I can tell you with a lot of conviction that zero carbon or green country is in the top of his list along with development, because no developing country, especially when you're developing your infrastructure, can go forward if it is causing a harm to the environment. So I think in each one of these development projects, Uday, I think green is the magic word, whether it is Bharat Mandapam, whether it is a tunnel being built, whether it is an underpass being built, whether it is a flyover being built, whether it is a highway being built. Now, I can take an example. There is a Delhi to Dehradun, expressway which is coming up, which will make you reach Dehradun in 2.5 hours. So I think in every single thing, there is a green aspect which the government is already on the job to do.
Right. Let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.